right there.
Yeah, I have good hearing, so I don't need it blaring.
Huh? So, really, the point again is, I just want to hear about your business, your journey, your. I mean, I've been watching you for years, and maybe not, not with you knowing, but I watch kind of how you've come up at Lake McQueenie, and your signs are here, and you're there, and Kendra just closed a fucking huge deal. She just Admiral Bimbo, the corner house, gigantic, and then you see these the top 50 realtors or the sales every month. Well, there's Kendra Wray, right?
Hmm?
And do you want it Kendra Kaufman on everything?
It doesn't. Yeah.
Well, this was when it was Kendra Wray.
Yeah. Well, obviously, business-wise, I'm still keeping it for Real Estate Kendra Wray because I branded that name for 25 years, so I'm not gonna
Muck it up.
Yeah.
And so that's
my middle name too. So it's,
is Ray.
yeah.
So is Ray. That gets really confusing. So now we're in the hot seat. It got hot. So I was researching you today, which we call stalking, and a lot of things I knew or had seen, and other ones other things that I wasn't aware of, or I was vaguely aware of, is just the amount of success you've had playing poker. And that has nothing to do with business.
What does?
I have questions about that. When did you start playing poker?
When I was a kid. I mean, we played at the house. We played, in between, 5-card stud and all the games back then, but didn't really start playing Texas Hold'em until I was probably about 19.
But like, you're a Texas Hold'em legend.
Not really legend.
Yes, you are. In this part of the world, you are. So you started playing in Minnesota. Is that where you're from?
Yes.
And then how did you start turning this? You've made money playing poker.
Yes, I have.
Which is crazy. But tell me about it.
Well, I started, I guess, when I moved to Texas in 1998. I just started playing at the bars. They'd have free tournaments. You could win money, or win gift cards or things like that, or $20 games, just because I really liked the game, and then just kind of went from there into bigger tournaments and playing more often. It was just a good release for me, to downtime.
Like away from work.
Yes, to get out of my head, not work-wise, just to chill.
And when you're at the poker table, do you shoot the shit with everybody, or do you put your sunglasses on and hide?
Never been a sunglass person. I always usually have a hat of some sort on, but and it depends on the game. If I'm playing with friends and stuff like that, yeah, we're chit-chatting and, having some cocktails and stuff, or playing a cash game. But, like in Vegas, you really is not a lot of talk going on. You're kind of just in your own zone. Sometimes you'll talk just to try to get some information out of them, or a reaction or something. But for the most part, you're kind of just there.
I have so many questions about poker because I played a ton, and a guy that you and I know, Larry Wright, I used to sit by him for hours and hours and days and watch him play poker. So I got into poker and played a bunch, and then I just kind of stopped for like 10 years. And I can't say it's like riding a bike. It's not. Because if you're not practicing and watching and training and doing what it takes to win at poker, you lose it. And so I feel like a amateur when I go to the poker table now. But are you still playing poker?
Yeah, just played last night, actually.
And anything in Las Vegas on the horizon?
Yes, actually, I guess probably been 6 months ago. I was playing in a charity tournament, and the first prize was a seat to the main event, the $10,000 seat, which I won. So
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
so I
So you get to go again.
Yep, yep.
Yes.
I missed last year, but typically I've gone every year during the World Series and played 2 or 3 events, but never played the main event.
Damn.
But yeah, so that's exciting, and to be able to do that for the
That'll
first time. But
be-
it's a long commitment because it's like a 10-day tournament from start to in July. So in my business, that's hard to be gone anywhere, but just have to be working from there.
And you got a bunch of businesses. You do a bunch of different things. You wear a bunch of different hats. Is being a realtor still your main business?
Yes, that's my main business is real estate. Yes.
Tell us how you decided that you were going to hang and step on glamour shot signs in front yards of houses around Lake McQueenie.
So actually, funny story is I was working at the Bandit golf course as a cart girl.
Yeah.
Well, that was how I kind of I was there, and I actually applied for that job I think 8 times before they gave it to me. And they said, I don't even have a job opening, but you're so persistent, we're going to figure something out. So I started working there doing the cart girl, and then at that point, the restaurant and beverage area wasn't even open. They just had the beverage cart. So I opened that up, and I became the GM of the restaurant part, and then also I now was just overseeing the carts and scheduling and that kind of thing. And where I had just got married, or I was just getting married, I guess, and I asked the owner of the golf course, I said, I'm looking to buy a house, who would you recommend? So he recommended I talk to his friend Terry Lenz. And so during that process, we were buying a house, and she's like, Lou Warner, he was the owner at the time, he's like, he thinks you'd be really good at real estate. And I was like, me? I was like,
And this is your first house
first house.
as a newly...
Well, it wasn't my first house. I actually owned my first house when I was 19. I bought a condo when I was 19 in Minnesota before I moved to Texas. So I moved to Texas, and my brother rented that out after I moved. But so my first house married, I guess. And so, during that process, and I was like, well, that's kind of rude that, I thought I was a good employee. Why is he trying to push me off onto another thing? And I was like, I've only lived in Texas for 2 years. I don't know, I barely know how to get to work, let alone anything else about real estate. And I also just thought, I'm young. I'm only, I'm 24 years old. What do I know about real estate? Because all the real estate agents then, they were 60, 70 years old.
Yeah, they were. Mickey Farrell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was like, well, can I just follow you around and kind of see what it's about? And she's like, sure. So I followed her around for about a week. And at that time, I was actually going to ACC trying to finish my business degree, as well as working at the Bandit. And I was like, well, I guess I can try it. And if it don't work out, I don't like it, and just go back and finish my degree and go from there. Well, I guess here
25 years later.
Almost 20. Next year will be 25 years, yeah.
Well, while I was researching you, it says Platinum Top 50 Realtor in SA. And every single time I come across, I think it's kind of the realtor thing where they send out, what Keller Williams did or who this, and you're always on that list. And it has a closed volume, written volume, and one that you put under contract.
Yeah, listing under contract and written.
Yeah. Well, which one is closed? The one that you closed the prior month, closed
Correct.
volume. Yeah.
Correct.
Because I always multiply that times 3% to see what y'all guys are up to. Which was how I kind of measure what I'm to. I'm like, damn, these realtors are doing that, and then slowly we started catching up, and I'm going, oh, the realtors are doing that. So. It was it's a neat thing to look at and nice to see that stuff. So you decided that you were going to follow a lady and watch her do real estate. And then how did you transition from the restaurant GM position into full-time sticking those glamour shot signs in front yards?
Well, after I completed my courses and got my license, that's when I just I gave my notice and quit at the Bandit, and then just went in full time and followed around and took duty every chance I could get, and would get there early and stay late after everybody else would leave.
What year was that?
2001.
See, because I followed your journey I've been a lawn guy, right? So I'm always around McQueenie mowing grass, and I'd see a sign, and we'd see the signs in the yards, and then eventually there's a billboard, and so I followed that journey. But you started in 2001, which that was right after September 11th. So was that tough on you?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess I didn't know any different, right? Because I was new and didn't know anything. But yes, definitely looking back, that I've gone through a lot of different, you know, up and down the market recessions and, things, COVID, all a bunch of different things that have affected the market. But that definitely, um, like I said, but it didn't make any difference to me because I didn't know anything different, right, going in. So yeah, it kind of was like, well, I told myself, okay, I'm going to give this a year, and if I don't make, and at the time I didn't set my bar very high. I was like, if I can make 20 grand this year, because that was what that'd be about selling $1 million worth of homes, right?
Yeah.
Equivalent after paying all your fees and brokers and everybody. And so I'm like, and then the next year, if I want to double it, and then if I don't, then I'll. That was kind of my thing, was just kind of doubling my income. And
It's interesting how you just said that I didn't know any different that the market had crashed, because apparently the market crashed in 2008 also.
yes,
And I was so busy mowing grass and hustling jobs and doing every single thing that I could to make a living that I didn't know the market crashed then either. And then as we get older, we start watching the news and start listening to this and outside information coming into our ears, and it starts to kind of eat at you. Whereas when we were young and dumb, we had no clue and we just kept hustling. And as an entrepreneur, you've already told me that you were there before people got up. You stayed late. What does it mean for you to hustle? What's that look for a real estate entrepreneur? What is it that just keeps you burning and makes you have that hustle? Is it ADHD times 9?
yeah, a little bit. My husband always jokes that I get up and hit a bump of coke every day like, just to get going. He's like, "How do you, like go all the time?" But I think I was just, think I was just born that way. Like that's who I am. I mean, I've had a job since I've been 12 years old. I had paper route, and then in high school I had 3 jobs and still played sports and still made A honor roll. Just do it.
Damn. No, and there's a ton to say for that. And it is one of my business coaches says, I like when people come with batteries included, which means they have the energy, they have the drive, they have the effort, and I don't have to pay any attention to them. And you've clearly come with batteries included, which is, it's awesome. All of this top stuff is poker stuff, which is just the first thing that popped up. Since you got into real estate, take me along that journey a little bit on after you did start selling some houses and you did start turning in a little bit of money, because during my mowing career and passing these houses, I realized that you had picked up your own houses and that you were doing maybe some Airbnbs or rentals. How did that, what happened with you going from just selling houses to any other business ventures in real estate? Can you talk about a couple of those?
Yeah. So when I started, I mean, even before I got into real estate, I liked real estate. Like I said, I already had my own first rental property, and I doubled my money on my first investment, and I was like, wow, like that's.
And what was that first investment where you doubled
It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo in Minneapolis.
So what happened with that?
So I bought it in. Sounds crazy, but I bought it for $35,000 at the time. The association dues were just as much as my mortgage payment was at the time, and I was just like, well, hey, if I can, I was making really good money. I was going to school and also just working part time downtown at a nice restaurant and making really good tips. So at that time, I was making 50 grand a year. I mean, as a 19-year-old, and so I was like, well, hey, if I can afford and get a loan to buy, why not, and not pay the rent. So I took that leap, and then I ended up moving to Texas, and I was like, well, I'll let my brother rent it, and not going to sell it yet, just because I'll wait and see if I want to go back home, like from there. And I decided I wanted to stay, and then the market went crazy in like a 2-year period. So I decided to do a little remodel and then just flipped it. So
that is wild. At what, 19, 20 years old? What a valuable lesson to learn for people on what owning a house, buying a house, taking a chance, and being able to flip it and make that much money at 20 years old or 22 is nuts. And then so tell me about some of your other real estate transactions that you've been, or what else you've gotten involved in since you just strictly real estate, since you've been a real estate agent.
So after we bought our main home, then I wanted to diversify and buy more rental properties, not just have money in the stock market. Because at that time, we had investments in the stock market and they were doing good, but then the market crashed. And I really wanted to get the money out of it and take the things and before it went too bad, but I kind of got vetoed. So at that point, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to start buying some rental properties. And if it don't work, it don't work. And I'll sell them. And, you can say you're wrong. Well, I just kept finding different leads and rentals and adding them to them.
Did you being a real estate agent and combing through all of the MLS all the time and being aware of what was on the market, is that how you found all of your real estate deals?
But some of them it was like, hey, I know that you might have an investor or you might be interested yourself. Kind of got brought to my attention that may not even have been on the market. I mean that, and a lot of my rentals that I have today kind of started with partnerships. I had investors looking, and I said, well, I'll be your partner in it, but some may not have the capital to do it at that time or didn't want to pay the major interest rates, and a lot of it was just the hassle of going through all of the crap that the lenders make you go through. If trying to get a loan, if you have any type of businesses, they want everything and every lease and I mean it's a pain, right?
They do.
And so I started to use private funding because it was so much easier, and a lot of times it was even cheaper. So I would partnership up with other people, and I would say, hey, you want to buy some rental properties? I was like, sure. And I'm like, well, how would you feel about me being your partner? We'd be 50-50 partners. They had the capital to pay it all up front, and I just pay you as the lien holder.
These are people that you met through real estate, high net worth people, or people that had nest eggs that were willing to put out on real estate. And that's another good example of creative ways to find financing that people don't think about ever is your buddies, your pals, or whoever you run into that might have a sack of cash that wants to not put it in the market, just like you were saying. You got vetoed on that. And a lot of people don't want to put their money in the market. They want to put it into somebody that they can trust, like you, and turn it into something. So it's a neat thing.
Yeah, because I had, established that business with them. I've already had done maybe a couple of deals with them, and I was managing their properties, so they already knew that I was someone that, and if I'm going to put, say I'm going to own half of it basically and be responsible for half of it, then obviously that's probably a good investment and going to take care of it. So kind of a win-win on, both sides.
So that spawned into your real estate career of just selling houses, spawned into you renting out your real estate houses as Airbnbs or long-term rentals. And what part of your business or percent of your business or total revenue did that eventually turn into being? Was it half of your revenue? Is it 30%?
The rental part?
Yeah.
So majority of all the rentals that I have now are pretty much just kind of pay for themselves. I've paid off a bunch of them, still own a little bit on some of them, but a lot of them pay for themselves, or I'm remodeling, or I'm reinvesting that money back. So there's not necessarily, I would call it income, because I'm just reinvesting it. So most of my income still comes from sales of real estate.
And then if you want to unload a house, you'll talk to the partner and unload a house if it's time, or if they decide they want to cash out on something. And
right. Yeah. So like this year, one of my partners, he's like, I'm retired. I don't want to mess with this rental stuff anymore. And I bought him out. So I only actually have one partner at this point in any of my rentals. The rest of them are all mine now.
Dang. How many do you have?
14.
Holy shit. That is so badass. But that's the point of this show. That is the reason we're doing this, is to show that a 19-year-old girl with drive and effort can work their little tail off for a period of time and do what you're doing. Because Kendra doesn't just have 14 little shacks. She has
I do have some
houses,
shacks, not gonna lie.
but she's got real estate on nice lake properties. You've had some down at the coast, so
Yeah,
you're
still do.
diversified in it. And if a shack comes up, you're an entrepreneur, you're going to pick it up anyway. So, but I mean, that's the kind of shit we want people to see because it's incredible. And a lot of regular people, regular folks that don't expand their thinking think that having 14 houses and a coffee shop and it is just absolutely impossible. And the cart girl from the Bandit did it, right?
Yeah.
That's insane. So, but that's what I just love. And that is the reason we're doing this because I want everybody to know that it is possible. But what does it take? What does it take? Sleepless nights? Does
Yeah.
it? I mean, what is it? Tell me some stories of something you went through while you're on this journey that you just didn't think was going to happen that happened and you just learned a lesson.
Well, I mean, I've over the years I keep trying to add different avenues of income. So that's where the coffee shop and the liquor store and the boat and RV storage and another property management company just diversifying. So that way, if I allow myself to retire someday, that will all be just already kind of self ran from there. But I mean, it's just I don't know. Just it takes a lot of time and a lot of drive and a lot of there's a lot. My mind don't stop. I always say I have like 30 browsers going at all times. It's like,
I know.
and I know, but I always joke to my husband. I was like, we look at him, and be like, "What do you think?" I ain't thinking nothing. I was like, "How do you do that?" I would love to just not have something in my head at
I
all
know.
times. Like it's just constant. And
Do you sleep good at night or are you a restless sleeper?
I sleep pretty good, but I also don't sleep. Like it's hard for me to sleep in. Like the other day, like last week, I went and did a conference in Austin for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Had to be there from 9 to 6, but drive there and back and everything. And after I already worked 60 hours last week, it was a long weekend. So Monday I was like, I'm gonna let myself sleep into 8:30, and I'm like 7:45. I was like, that's it. That's all I got. Like I feel guilty. Like
Yeah.
I shouldn't be. I should be hitting the ground going. So.
Man, and I feel the same way. I can't if I'm up at 6 and I decide that I'm gonna try to sleep till 7:30, it's not happening. And even if I want to, I'll close my eyes. Brain is just turning, and it's like, look, let's just get to work. And that's one thing that I've heard that I really like is if you can't think of something to do, go do something. So if you're sitting there just turning and you're going, which way do I walk? Just get up and get walking. It'll come to you. But
Well, I don't think I ever have that problem. I always say I don't even know how to spell the word bored or not busy, or like somebody called me a couple days ago and I just had the radio on the background at the coffee shop, and they said, oh, sorry, because I said Alexa, oh yeah, turn off your show. I'm like, yeah, you really think at home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon just sitting here watching Oprah? No.
no. Do you watch TV much?
Not really.
I don't
actually.
ever watch
I mean,
TV.
every once in a while, like football, watching football game or
Yeah.
something like that.
We
But
won't talk about that right now.
I know we don't want to talk about.
That sucks because I'm not a big sports fan, and so I tie my teams to people that I know. And whether you know it or not, the only reason I like the Vikings is because I know you're cheering for them. And the only reason I like the Washington Commanders is because my buddy Cisco loves them. So I don't have a team. But I know you love them, and I saw them getting further and further along. I looked at the score, and I thought, damn, I bet Kendra's not happy right now.
No, not to go 14-2 in the season, and then just.
They did so good too,
Yeah.
and then it just crashed and burned, and it sucks because, again, that's your team. Talk to me about our favorite thing that we really love. We can't live them, and we can't live without them. Some of the customers that you've had to deal with in a real estate transaction.
Oh yeah.
You gotta have a top 3.
Yeah, definitely. So, this kind of just brings me back to, I guess it was probably been, 7 years ago? Yeah, 7 years ago. I decided I wanted to write a book. And so I went to a writers conference in Utah, and I was going to write a book about real estate. But basically, it was 50 reasons why not to get your real estate license.
Oh shit.
But then the tagline on that was, but if you make it through this book and still want to get your license, then you'll make it in this business, because there's just so much. Like everyone sees like the good stuff, right? Like they don't see all the crap that goes into it. And I mean, yeah, you probably do from some of the agents that aren't making it, because 80% of agents fail within the first couple of years. So
Don't you think that's a thing with restaurants? I'm in the restaurant business, and it seems like, I don't know the percentage, but they say restaurants are so hard, and in real estate, everybody sees the glamour side of it, but 80 to 90% of everybody, it's only the 10% that you see that are doing anything. And it doesn't matter if it's in restaurants, plumbing, real estate, you're only seeing the top 10%. So,
well, I mean, for consistently, I would say there's the 80-20% rule for everything in life, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, there's 80% are doing what they need to do to get whatever that task may be done. And there's the 20% that are, complaining that they're not getting done, but not doing anything about to not get there.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I always joke too, like people will say something like, well, you always win all this, the stuff at these events. I was like,
I show up.
Yeah, I show up and I buy a ticket.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, you're never going to win the lottery not buying a ticket.
Right.
And so they're like, because I'll say, did you buy a ticket? No. I'm like, well, how do you expect to win? Well, that makes sense. I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, like, you have to show up. You have to put in the work. You have to buy the ticket. And that's just life.
Man, that's one thing I say too, is 90% of the battle is showing up. I've had so many deals that I've done that I just showed up. I just kept showing up, and I put in the time and I put in the effort. And it's a big lesson to learn. And a lot of people won't show up. They won't buy the ticket, and then they bitch about it. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, what did you expect? And they probably a free handout.
Yeah. But go back to the question about, people I've encountered, but that was another part. Was and a lot of it too has been through property management. I mean, I've had some doozies of tenants and landlords, or just in general people, but I have to say that the worst clients that I've ever had have either had their license before, have their license but maybe out of their own market, or are trying to get their license, and literally probably the worst clients I've had to work with.
You're stabbing me in the chest, because I've got a construction project going on right now with a person that was a realtor, and these signs that you see coming when you've been doing business for a long time, you can kind of tell the same pattern with people. And most of the time you'll label it, you'll say, all right, well, it looks like this is going to happen. And sure as shit, it happens.
Yeah.
And most of the time when it doesn't, you're like, damn, that was surprising. So I hope that my deal that I'm working on right now is not that, but I can see it. But I've also, taken control and said, look, this is the day that nothing else can change. And we're past that day, and things have been good since then. So I hope they can continue. What is one of the other things that you were going to put in that 50 reasons to not become a realtor? And did you start working on the book?
I did start working on the book, but it's not finished. I probably got to 30, and I'll keep telling myself I'm going to go back and revisit that, but also too, like I don't know how many books besides, Audibles that these days are really even a thing, but I guess it could be an Audible book. But I get asked all the time, from people like, hey, I'm thinking about getting my license. And I'm like, don't do it. And it's usually because I know that person, or I'll ask a couple questions, right? Mm-hmm. Because what people don't understand, it's not like you just show up and you're like, oh, I got my license, and all your uncles and brothers and cousins and friends are going to refer people to you. No. Yeah. And majority of the time, they don't want to break that personal and business relationships. Maybe not at first, for sure, because they don't, especially if you're new in the business, or they don't want you to know their circumstances or whatever it might be. So you have to be, self-motivated to show up and put in the work and make the calls and, do the things where that's one of the huge things is people just think it's just going to be so easy.
I'm going to sit at the front desk, the phone's going to ring, and I'm going to make sales.
Yeah. And that nowadays, that doesn't really happen. I mean, we'll get a few, there's still people that do desk duty and get a few calls here and there, but for the most part, so like with Keller Williams, and for example, we have our own signs. We can put our own phone numbers on there. Once we do that, we're no longer able to do desk duty. Only people that can do desk duty have just the office number, office sign, so they get those calls, which most agents these days have all the leads coming to them. So there's that kind of, or it could be maybe a call off just online, like, hey, I'm not calling them anything particular. I'm just trying to find an agent. But most of the time, people are asking somebody, hey, you probably know somebody that's in real estate or, things. So that whole part of that's different, right? And that's the way the market's been the last few years. It's
You guys came off of a one hell of a 2-year run in real estate. I mean, I had never seen anything like it. I'm all over Texas, and I bought a house in Lubbock at the beginning of COVID, and there were only 13 houses for sale in all of Lubbock, and it was like, take it or leave it. And so, and I always see these business people and the car sales guys where the market really peaked with all of these industries, and these guys get these attitudes of, man, I'm badass because I sold this during COVID. And what a smack in the face to come off of that COVID. But that's what separates the men from the boys in any industry. And you just keep trucking and selling stuff.
Well, I mean, I've seen so many different things happen in 25 years. You have to adjust. You have to know how to adjust and not just, because so many people are like, oh, this is easy, put a house in the market and get 40 offers or whatever. And now you have to know, and then also too with all the new NAR stuff and having the buyer's agent commission, you have to just adapt, right? And you have to be able to know how to sell, basically show your worth, now. And it's actually really been good for real estate, I believe, because it's weeded out a lot of people that really needed to get out anyways. Yeah. Because 80% don't even sell $1 million of real estate, which today is, you can make more money, working at McDonald's than you can, having your license.
I always say in real estate that the real estate agent actually is worth the money when it gets down to the negotiations. And you have negotiated several deals, more than you can count, sold hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate. And when it's time to get down to business and talk dollars and cents, you are a powerhouse in negotiation. And that is the key in real estate.
And that's where I said poker. That's why, I think my poker skills come into play, is that negotiation, because in poker there's some bluffing and lying, and there's the same thing in real estate. And so that's one of the mistakes that I see that people often pick with a real estate agent. They pick the pretty face or the pretty person that has a good personality, and then when it is time to work the deal between Mr. Jones and Miss Jones, that just falls apart. And I'm guilty of it too. I've hired real estate agents that just weren't. And for anybody that's listening, that's why you pick the badass real estate agent, is when it gets down to business. And it does. And it gets you start negotiating over all kinds of shit. I mean, you can name 50 things. I made a house deal over a barbecue pit. That's what closed my house. Yeah. They said, if you leave that barbecue pit, thanks Bad Habit Barbecue, if you leave that barbecue pit, we will buy this house. Yeah. And that was it. And so I'm sure you've seen stranger things than that, but man, that's where it is. And that's why you're so badass. I got a free Polaris out of a deal.
Tell us about it.
So I think it was last year. I always lose track of time, but I was selling a lakefront property, and we were in a multiple offer situation, and I was a listing agent, and they wanted really just to sell everything because they had a place in Colorado already and a bunch of ranches and things. And
These sound like good customers.
yes, they were actually really easy to work with. And I was just kind of just joking around at the end, and because the one person wanted a lot of the furniture and blah blah blah, but they never mentioned this Polaris. And I went to my sellers, I said, well, hey, these people really want the house. They're willing to pay $100,000 more than asking price, but they really want me. If they get the deal, they want me to have that Polaris. And he said, it's yours. I have 12 other ones at the ranch. I don't need that.
Shit.
I don't need that Polaris. So after closing, I picked it up and took it to the coast, and now I still have it.
Oh, did you put it in the contract?
I know. I just picked. Yeah. Well, it wasn't in the contract because it was theirs. Like because they picked.
It wasn't real estate.
Well, yeah, because I said I need to, but I just
Damn.
that's all those things. If you don't ask, you don't get, right?
Dang. Well, we talked about your real estate career, and but it is 25 years, and I always see you on top, so I love it. I really do. I respect it, and again, I know you don't know that I watch from the side, but I'm observant, and I mowed every freaking yard that you sold probably back in the old days, and so it's sweet to watch. But you've transitioned. You're still selling real estate like crazy, but what did you? We had a meeting down in Port Aransas. Maybe 2 years, a year and a half ago now that you decided you were going to open a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Tell us about the coffee shop. What's the name of it?
Morning Buzz Coffee here in McQueenie. So yeah, that was kind of towards I guess end of COVID, but during COVID, I also decided to, because just kind of where the market was, and also knowing that our dam had failed or was going to fail, and Dunlap had already failed, and there was going to be some transition in, because that was my prime market, right, was waterfront sales. And I was like, oh crap, I'm going to have to kind of diversify out. And I already had purchased a house down the coast and always going down there a lot anyways, and really learning that market. So that's when I decided to tap into the, making a division as well, since I'm already there, quarter of my time. So I'm like, well, why not sell down here as well? So I kind of opened up that part, and that's been about 25% of my business for the last.
Is the coastal region?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. So I've had some great referrals from other agents and stuff, because they have friends, or clients that are selling from here, moving there, or wanting to sell their place here and come here, and so vice versa. So I've been able to, keep those transitions.
It is
together.
convenient that Port A is a town that people from Houston that have houses on McQueenie go visit down in Port A and Rockport and all that other stuff. What do they call that on a? It's like an extension. I don't know what it is. Extension business. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So the coffee shop kind of came about was, like I said, I'm always trying to add just different avenues of revenue and different things. And honestly, I never even drank coffee till about 4 years ago. It was gross to me. I'm not an iced tea drinker. I don't like iced tea. I guess maybe just from being from up north, but then I still don't drink like real coffee. I can't drink a black coffee.
Well, what do you drink?
I drink like a latte, with all kinds of sugars and milks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not a true coffee drinker, but so the coffee business was more about just what's needed in our area. So there's 15 minutes pretty much anywhere you go to where you can get a coffee shop. And so that's kind of where that coffee shop came into play, was just felt like there was a need for in that our area.
And then back to hustling, people think that you could just open a coffee shop, open the doors, and people are going to show up, but that's not true. But what you already told me earlier is that you were having a morning group there, and then I noticed that you had another group of people there. And so having events and getting people to the coffee shop is a whole nother part of business, and you're already working on that. Yeah. And if they don't want coffee, what do you have next door?
We have a liquor store. So you can get your morning buzz and your afternoon buzz.
Yeah,
so,
all in one shot. Does the liquor store open at 6 a.m.?
No, it can't open till 10. There's laws against that. Yeah, can't open till 10.
And there's no pass-through window.
No.
Just a little shot in my coffee too.
Yep.
Oh, it'd be great. What else? I've got. Have you had somebody when I was coming up and looking for answers and suggestions, and as a young entrepreneur, I was always trying to find somebody that could help me do something or answer these questions that I have, tell me how to do this or that. Do you have a mentor that you leaned on for any of this, or somebody that's helped you and guided you through any of your business?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a lot actually, because for each different thing, like for instance, Larry, in the poker world, because I was just kind of like a novice player at that point when I met him, and he said, well, hey, I'm going to be doing this charity. I'm kind of like a special guest for this charity event in San Antonio. He's like, can I buy your ticket? So he had bought like a table of 10, and that was actually the first time I met JJ, was at that tournament. So I met there, and I actually won the tournament.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Was that an Eagle Pass?
No, I never actually played an Eagle Pass. This was at the Rim. They had it actually at the Rim upstairs in that area. One of the World Series of Poker winners came down. And he was kind of like the host of it. Mm-hmm. And so first prize was just a trip to Vegas, like all expenses paid, room, like limo, dinners, and all these things. And so I actually took JJ with me. And so from there, it kind of just started doing more of the tournament things. And, he would I would just kind of, to say, hey, what should I do? And, kind of just
He's a good poker player.
Yeah. So, but I always, this is funny because we'd play at the ranch. We'd always play cards and stuff, and we would end up playing like heads up, and I beat him. And I said, and then he always wants a rematch. Like, nope, I'm just keeping it. I'm keeping it as I beat you heads up, and that's it. No, we're not going.
He can't stand to lose.
I know.
He cannot stand to lose.
No.
Oh, that's a good time to call it quits.
So he's been one for like the.
Do you still use him for poker stuff, or do you still play tournaments with him? And
actually, yes.
How do you stay fresh doing all that?
Well, I mean, I try to play when I can. Obviously, with different things going on, it's hard to play as much as I'd like. But we try to play once a week, but may sometimes be every other week. But I also have started with a group of friends that I've played with for years. We're starting a business that's basically teaching people how to play, either novice players or or intermediate, to where it's kind of like now we have headphones and you're at the table and they get to say, hey, do this, do that, like a kind of a learning thing, just going through everything. So we've already had our first tournament we did a ladies event. Now we're going to have another one probably in February at the Coleman Card House, and just kind of bringing that in. But hopefully it's going to be big, where it's going to be live streaming people. People are going to can buy a subscription to like.
That sounds sweet.
And so Larry was the our teacher, and one of the coaches, like when we opened that. So that one night we had it, he there kind of went over the basics and was there to like answer questions and stuff.
That sounds sweet. So y'all set them up at a poker table. They got headphones on. Do they have cameras on the card?
Usually just earbuds. Yeah, but you'll have cameras on your table where you can see what their cards are. Mm-hmm. So our vision is that they'll be behind, like in the back room, and just kind of saying, hey, do this, do that. Obviously, it's not legal to do that during a real tournament, but to doing it where everybody's doing it, right? Like the whole everybody gets to see that. Just because that hands-on is really how you learn. Like, you don't play poker and play off your cards. Because if you just play your cards, you're never going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ain't bluffing, you ain't winning. Yeah. Or you ain't picking positions or reading players, because if you're not going to win.
Yeah.
So just like in blackjack, if you don't follow the rules, you're not going to win. If you stay on 16 sometimes and you don't stay on 16 times, and if you mess it up, you're out.
There goes your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense. And what about any real estate mentors that you have, or do you feel that it's important to have mentors?
Oh, absolutely. So when I started, like I said, Terry was kind of my mentor at that point, and then because I didn't know anybody. Didn't never. I mean, I don't
You
live
weren't
here.
even from here.
I wasn't from here. I didn't know anybody.
Did you
And
just throw a dart at a map and land on Lake
I
McQueenie?
actually moved to San Marcos, and that's where I met my husband at the time. And then we moved to New Braunfels, and so that's where I was living in New Braunfels, trying to work at the Bandit, and then so I was just driving New Braunfels back, and then we ended up moving to the Bandit, buying a house there, and so was right in McQueenie, and I was the youngest person I think that they've ever, well, maybe not now, but at that time that worked there, because everybody else was retired teachers, or, I mean, the average age was like 65.
Yeah.
And so I really just, anybody in the office, I could help. And it's like, can I put up your signs? Can I, if you don't want that $50,000 lot, or you don't want that, I'll take it. And kind of just did that. So I would just ask them to shadow them, because we didn't have, didn't work for a KW company at that time. It was Mickey Fairland. We didn't have any training. They're like, here's your phone, which was a real phone, like you pick up, and didn't have the MLS, like the true MLS we have now, or smartphones back then. Just think that's how old. It's like,
I know.
we didn't have a smartphone,
I know.
so we had to print out a MapQuest to get to where we want to go. And
A6, A6 will get you there.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally, that's how it was. But it was just me asking them. But I might have learned a lot of like you're someone teaching you how to drive. You probably learn all the bad habits up front, or at that time, some of these, they had been in the business so long, they didn't have to have continuing education, so they were teaching me all the stuff that was out of date, right?
Yeah.
So, but
you need a current MapsCo to get there. That street's not on there.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, so that's basically what I did. I just would soak up as much info as I could get from them, but also too, I knew like there were some of them that they're like, hey, I'm about to hang up my hat here, so I'm attaching on so I can get that get that database from you. So that's kind of where I had transitioned from getting those. And I mean, I was probably one of the first person to put a billboard in this area as well. Like I just let me give it a try. And
was that on 725?
I still have the same one on
it's
725.
still
I've
there?
had it for right there on Klein and 725. I've had that same one for I think
Holy crap,
close to 20 years.
But that's a great street to have it on too. Man, that's nuts. What else did I have? Oh, so one thing I like to find out is you've been successful in business. I think as entrepreneurs, though, we're always looking for the next thing, right? So success is relative to each person. But what does success look like to Kendra?
That's a hard one.
It is.
Yeah. I think it's different in every business. Success, I mean, may not even be making a profit. It may be just learning something, right? Learning something for the next thing. But I've been reading I don't actually barely ever have time to read, but listen to Let Them.
Mm-hmm.
So the Let Them theory is kind of like, let everybody have their own opinion. Let them do the things you want to. But basically, it boils down to, if you make yourself happy and you're proud of yourself,
is what success looks like to you. Is there a unit of money, or is it happiness? Your kids are healthy. That's what makes Kendra happy.
Yeah, I mean, being able to, I'd love to, I play poker. I'd like to play, cornhole. But pretty much any competition. I mean, we play board games and stuff all the time. Like those are things that I like to do, and be able to have the, fishing, hunting, have the time and also the resources to do those. Mm-hmm. That's, kind of where, like, so, because why work your butt off and then, go and die and not ever have to be able to, work hard, play hard.
I think it's time. My definition of success is as along the lines of yours. It's time. I get to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And it could be whatever it is, flying or the podcast, or I love learning, so I'm always going to business things. But early on, the definition of success to me is swiping my credit card at any restaurant and be able to eat wherever I wanted. I felt pretty successful at that time. So we've passed that, but that was my easy definition of success. What else do I have for you, young lady?
Yeah, I mean that the whole success thing too is like, yeah, we wanted to leave a legacy, right? Like you want someone to say, hey, you know, they hit the ground running and they didn't stop. And
do you have anybody that you're being their mentor? Do you have anybody that you're teaching what you know?
I feel like I do, like, in and out all the time. Like I'm always offering, like, to help people to get in that. Like right now I have a new agent that started working for me, and she's going to be my main property manager. And so like that part, but I'm always offering help, right? Sometimes maybe it's not help that somebody wants, like my daughter. I'm like, hey, why don't you go take all these classes to learn social media, and you can take over all of our stuff while you're going to college, because that's what she wants to do, is kind of take over my business. And I said, well, why not just do it now, right? So, and I offer things like, suggestion on how I would do it, but that's part of the thing is like, you can't expect my husband always tells you, nobody's going to do it the way you want to do it. It doesn't matter, and it's just today's world too, right? Like that's so hard for me, because I'm just like, can you just give me 10% of me? Because that's it's frustrating and hard, and like sometimes I'm like, God, why did you give me like all of this drive and ambition, and then to like be let down so much? I'm like, so that's hard. That's a hard part for me.
I told a guy the other day, I said, look, when I'm doing something, I feel like a racehorse on a racetrack. And I feel like the guy next to me is a pony with a broken leg. And so that's kind of in it. They just, it's hard to teach drive, ambition. And like they say, I want them to come with batteries included. But man, it is hard. Yeah. But along your journey and along my journey, one thing that I have found is when people, they dog Generation Z or whatever it is, the kids now that are 18 to 22, because I've got restaurants in a college town, and some of those kids, you can say whatever you want, but they come with batteries included.
Well, yeah, that's the 20% rule, right? It's going to be that way no matter what. It's just that 20% is probably not compared to our 20% that we grew up with, right? So it's a different 20%, but they're still being that 20% of today's world. And that's where have to kind of dial it down, because obviously we're different than our parents, that we don't act like our parents did. And so just have to kind of make it generational, and then realize that it's not going to be apples to apples comparison.
For sure. Times have changed big time. And especially during our careers. I mean, like you said, you were, when your coworker real estate people were retiring, you were trying to grab their Rolodex and hoping that their handwriting was good.
Yep.
So you could get their book. And that wasn't that long ago, but that's just the way it is.
That was a long time ago.
It was only 20 years.
Almost 25, yeah.
20, yeah. Cell phones have been around, for 20 years that we could afford one before they were the bricks?
But before, like I think I had my first BlackBerry in 2023.
I must have been 18. So it's 2017, 2018 is when we could actually afford a phone.
Yeah.
Because they were the Motorola bricks that were $2,000 and $3,000 a month.
I had a bag phone in college that I had in the car.
You were working hard, because I sure shit couldn't afford one.
I had a beeper, at 16. Yeah. I had a beeper at 16.
That's my passcode to everything is my old pager number backwards.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't know what I was selling with a beeper, but it wasn't hamburgers and spaghetti. So, well, anyway, it's been, we've been here for an hour, and I've enjoyed listening to your story. It's a great story. You really have been a hustler and a standout for our local area, not only in the local area, the state. Like, you are a hustler. I admire that about you. I love entrepreneurship, and you've always got shit going on. And I'm going to enjoy watching your journey. So keep up the good work. We've enjoyed it. Where can people find you when they need to buy or sell a house in Texas, Kendra?
Well, you can. I mean, good old Google is the easiest way. Just Google Kendra Wray with a W, and you'll find me. Or we can put all my contact information. Somebody actually messaged me today and said, "What is your updating my contact stuff? What is your email?" I said, "Which one do you want?"
Yeah.
Because I only have 20. She's like, "Whatever one you want."
You're
So,
easy to find.
yes, I'm easy to find.
Yeah.
Yes, if you want to find me, you can find me. Yeah, you'll Google me.
Just
you'll
Google her.
you'll find me with all my. You'll see all my fun poker
Poker
stuff.
stuff. That is impressive.
Yep.
You have a good poker resume, and it was neat to see.
But yeah, definitely, we would love some more business at the coffee shop, and we can help hosting events, and we do deliveries. We can come, bring the stuff to you. But having some, we've really enjoyed having our morning Bible studies at the coffee shop, and then also too now we started a new group for real estate agents, is kind of a mastermind that we're doing once a month. But
that's what I saw earlier.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
That is what I saw earlier, and that's what I appreciated, is Kendra's gathering a group of real estate agents and having a mastermind and strategizing together as a group, as opposed to other people in industries that would say, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I don't want to talk to them. I'm going to let them swim on their own. So while those people are saying to swim on your own, you're saying, hey, guys, let's get over here. Let's figure this out. Let's work together and let's sell some houses. And that's freaking fucking awesome.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing better than working with an agent that knows what they're doing. So, because there's always, you're going to be on the other side with somebody. So why not work with people that are in the industry that are good, right? And also, too, there's I mean, in any business, there's enough business for everybody, right?
There is.
And for the right people. So why don't we just keep educating and helping the ones that we want to work with? How
long did it take you to put that group together?
Actually, it was brought to me from somebody else in the group. They messaged, did a Facebook thing and said, hey, I just always wanted to, I want to learn more. I want to do more, coming years. What would y'all think about just starting a Realtor Roundup group and just discussing different things, and and you can invite other people you want to, and so it kind of took off from there. And then she just it's Selena Ross at a Sakina. She just suggested, hey, well, why don't we meet at Kendra's coffee shop? So I just kind of co-hosting it with her. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it was, like I said, it was just kind of brought to me, and things you just sometimes this happens, right?
Yeah. What do they say? Luck happens to those that are at the table, and you've been at the table. Yeah. That's good. Y'all have another one going on next month.
Yeah, we're doing that once a month. We're trying to do it every Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month. But some things, we have to adjust according to other maybe events like that are happening. But that's kind of where we're working at it right now. But kind of maybe even another suggestion too is like just to be where we are today is having not only like mentors but having accountability. So I also have a coach that I meet with once a week for one-on-one. We also have group sessions that we can go into, and then like tomorrow I have a mastermind in San Antonio with other agents that are part of the groups and just discussing things. But I think that's really important.
You're always learning and staying sharp.
Right. Yeah.
What other kind of deals could somebody bring you? Do you have your feelers out for anything, for any new opportunities? Are you looking for any business transactions, real estate stuff? Is there anything else that you're just kind of, kicking around right now that somebody could bring to you?
Yeah, real estate wise, always looking for opportunity. If it's not myself, I have investors that are looking to pick up, good deals, or, just any insights. Actually, it did not matter what business it is. Like this last weekend, I was actually at a trading conference, learning how to trade for my, trade. do some day trading options and, futures, and because, use another way to bring in revenue and also to make our money work, right? Like rather than sitting in a, savings account making, 0.1% or whatever it might be. And just, I'm always looking to, I'll look at anything, right?
I'll turn over any rock and take any meeting just to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
And if it's no good, it's no good. And if it's good, I will figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah.
How's the school traffic for the coffee shop in the morning?
It's a little slow because it's elementary school. I think once we get the new school, it'll probably be better once they have the bigger school. But we're still trying to get more of a routine of people that are our regulars, coming in.
The coffee shops they're an interesting thing. I've got 3 of them going right now, and some months they do good and some months they do nothing. But
that's been my hardest, for sure. Hardest business I've done. We still have yet to make a profit at the end of the day. As far,
So for everybody that thinks you just open a coffee shop and you make a mother load of money, in my experience and in Kendra's experience, it doesn't sound like that is the truth. But we have been getting groups of people to the coffee shop. We do caterings and we do everything we can. But if you're thinking about going to get in a coffee shop because you're going to hit the lottery, the answer is you're not.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work and effort and energy to sell a $3, $4, $5 cup of coffee and turn a profit. So it can be done. We have made money on all of our coffee shops, but it is not what you think it is. In some months you'll lose money, in other months you hit it. We have a partnership in the Lubbock airport with Paint Rock Coffee that has done really well. But it's in a very busy location, which I believe is the key to business, is location.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking to expand, and we feel like we have really good coffee, and so because there's a lot of you can put a coffee shop anywhere, but if it's not good coffee, you're not going to have those repeat people coming back. They have to have something. But so we are looking at ways to expand that in other places. But
so you want to add another Morning Buzz coffee somewhere?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and also too, like we're in some talks with some gas stations, and I won't say like who, but like about bringing in our blends and being the face of their coffees.
That'd be great.
Those things. So that hoping, and I have a friend that has a place in Fredericksburg that has a boutique, and they have a small area that because they bought a new place out, and it has an area where you could easily put a little coffee shop in there, and just kind of those kind of places where we can expand without having the huge cost behind it, but just expanding our brand basically.
Well, I like that, and what we call that is a strategic pivot, but staying in the same industry. And that's what we did at our coffee shop to make money. And I believe that if you continue down that road, I think you'll see it. And it doesn't, just because you have a coffee shop on one corner or a business on one corner that you're not killing it at, does not mean that within that same business you cannot turn a serious profit. And I think if you work on those things, and you've got gas stations, selling Morning Buzz coffee, and I mean, it could go into anything. So I wish you luck on that. And I know if you work on it, you'll get it. So, anyway, well, that is the end of our party.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
That was fun. Oh, I love hearing it.